BULA!
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, whenever you guys end up watching this.
Or good in the evening.
Oh, yeah.
We apologize.
Well, you do. I'm not sorry. Just diving right into it today, where what's really going on, Indiana's kind of current events as far as hemp and the alternative industry sectors, both retail and beyond. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing minor cannabinoids, hemp isomers as a whole, and research chemicals, and kind of the legislative history, context, and also what's in the outlook. Pardon me for stuttering a little bit there. I'm still getting my BULA in me, but the outlook for what kind of effect hemp research chemicals, isomers, could have on overall cannabis reform, both at a state and national level. So yeah, that's for the love of Delta and Cheah.
A fucking Cheah and a BULA.
Oh yeah, don't forget to grab your snacks today, guys. We want to make sure you stay healthy.
Yes. And please do us a favor. Go ahead and comment, like, subscribe.
Oh yeah.
To the channel.
And especially hit that notification bell, because we're really, really small and nobody will ever know if we post anything unless you do. So that's on you at this point. We warned you.
Well said.
Do you want to start off today?
Just wanted to start off by saying talking about maybe the history of CBD and its relation to Delta 8. So once CBD became, I guess you could almost use the word mainstream.
Sure.
There were many health benefits and health claims that were made by many of these players in the CBD industry. Turns out many of those were unfounded. It's sad, but true. So there were quite a few bad players in the industry for CBD. And once that market kind of hit that bottom, there became the need for something else or something new within the hemp industry itself. And here in Indiana specifically, and across the nation, Delta 8 became that chemical that kind of came out of that for something that could actually potentially benefit somebody.
Yeah, may I chime in?
Please do.
So just to elaborate a little bit further, we were both in the hemp industry. Well, I started in 2018, 2019 when things first started getting in the works from the Agricultural Improvement Act on a national level. And like Taylor was saying, CBD as a whole kind of bottomed out on the retail and production side of things around the time COVID hit, I think. Like you said, there were a lot of people making grandiose health claims, and I remember seeing CBD can cure COVID and shit like that, and pardon me for swearing, everybody, but it really it bottomed out to the point where all those millions and billions of dollars that had been invested into production facilities and distillation, extraction specifically for CBD, and all that stockpiling that was accrued because everybody was just trying to build. They thought it was going to pop and be the next green/gold rush, and then nothing came of it. And so like he was saying, Delta 8 kind of popped up, especially when the converters, extractors, and distillers a few years prior to 2020 had discovered a U.S. patent that the United States of America owned, of course, from the 70s or thereabouts, and it converted CBD into Delta 8. Now, notice I said converted. We'll go on to that little detail a little bit later and touch further on it, but it was like a solution to all those investment issues that had occurred, because now there's this legal form of hemp-derived THC that is legal according to the Agricultural Improvement Act. So nationally, Delta 8 just started popping up like crazy left and right, and we were actually working, doing some research and development and converting CBD into Delta 8 and Delta 10, especially when you and I were together back at Denver CBD a few years ago. That was
wonderful days.
Quite a time. Sorry for chiming in. I just wanted to now that you mention it, we'll elaborate a little bit further on that one.
No, it's just fine and understandable, because yes, as we discovered at Denver, or just reading and researching, there was so much CBD crude that existed. What to do with it all is layman's way, which is probably more my side of things, the layman's way to think of what to do with all this. And so hemp-derived Delta 8 definitely became a huge thing to do with all that CBD.
While we're on that subject, so real quick and real briefly, Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, Delta 11, there's Delta 6, there's Delta 1, Delta 2, Delta 3, all of those numbers on the delta, the suffix, if you will, are determined by the positional location of the hydrogen bond. So what I mean by that is the efficiency that your body could absorb the THC and utilize it, whether it's for medicinal, psychoactive, or recreational purposes, is in part determined by which number on the clock. We'll use that metaphorically. It's not an exact metaphor, but you could say delta 8's at the 8 o'clock position, delta 9's at the 9 o'clock position, 10, 11, and so on. And that ultimately affects how your body utilizes those compounds and molecules. Your body likes delta 9 the most just because your endocannabinoid system structurally makes anandamide. Pardon me for stuttering a little bit there. Anandamide. It always kills me on that one. But anandamide is pretty much like the runner's high compound. After you experience a lot of cardio, let's say positively induced stress, your body will release anandamide naturally. And delta 9 THC is structurally the most similar to that, and so you have the easiest way of actually metabolizing, putting that compound to use. So just to give everybody a real brief intro on that, delta 8 synthesis, conversion, whatever we're going to talk about as far as that goes, is really determined by acid plus heat in a vacuum environment with CBD, and that acidity converts that CBD into a delta 8 with the presence of heat. And then delta 10 can be used from like a clay compound. It's called bentonite. We actually have an article on our blog through the website that we'll link down in the description below if you want to read further into that. It goes into a lot more detail than we can get in squished on this time frame today. But yeah, so different compounds are used, but the base premise for any isomerization or conversion is acid plus CBD or whatever molecule you want to use in heat under vacuum, and then go from there. So yeah.
Gotcha. So that's speaking a little bit to conversion.
Exactly.
Would you be able to elaborate or speak to a little bit of synthesis versus conversion?
Sure. Really shortly, synthesis of any sort for a compound supplement, since hemp products, CBD and all that are considered supplements legally, we can't make medical claims. Synthesis is illegal, nationally and state. It's just no bueno. The debate you're referring to is conversion versus synthesis. So if you take a compound like citric acid with CBD and repeat the process we were just talking about a second ago, is that conversion or synthesis? And that gets down to like legal definitions, and there's a lot of gray area there. So there's a possibility that we could see delta 8, delta 10, and all those other ones banned eventually, pardon me. Excuse me, need to clear that. But we could see that because they might be able, they being the legislators, may be able to perceive the verbiage and the definitions of synthesis and conversion as too gray and just outrightly consider anything that is isomerized as a synthetic product. So that's real short and sweet on that one.
Understood. So currently, speaking of, we'll touch on Delta 8 here. The Delta 8 up for debate in the next session.
You're talking about the summer committee happening in Indiana right now?
Correct.
Gotcha.
So Delta 8 is up for, again, because it was back in February, we almost lost Delta 8 legally in the state of Indiana.
And we would have if not for Midwest Hemp Council. Shout out to Midwest Hemp Council. We'll link them down in the description below. Guys, look into them. They're doing really cool things.
Big fans of MHC and what they advocate for us here in the state.
Sorry for interrupting.
Actually, no, you're fine. You're fine. So, so again, hopefully not, but again, Delta 8 is up for potential ban due to the reasons that Dan was just stating about synthesis versus conversion, the gray areas that do exist there. So we just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that and following that. We're going to follow that closely, so you can always come to us for updates on that. We'll be posting as they happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That said, though, to further elaborate on that as well, Delta 8 has already affected the cannabis industry, not just the hemp industry. So look at states like Illinois. Over quarantine, when Delta 8 started surfacing in kind of the public eye, so to speak, there were a lot of hemp shops and head shops that were like swamped with lines filled down the street, and all those recreational dispensaries that were approved by the state and licensed, they followed their T's and dotted their I's, so to speak, and they were not getting any clientele because the tax on the cannabis side of things was so egregious. So I'm pretty sure that it went into effect and they were able to successfully require that Delta 8 only be sold in cannabis dispensaries. So Delta 8 has already affected reform, and it could be inhibiting cannabis reform in Indiana. Let's say the Indiana GOP is like, well, they have Delta 8 THC, so why do we need to give them cannabis when we don't have the ability to set up a proper infrastructure and disperse those tax revenues accordingly and appropriately, of course.
Right.
So yeah, it's a really nuanced and complex situation, and it really makes me feel akin to like Europe. A lot of you guys may not know, but like Europe since 2002 has had all these research chemicals like 2CI, 2CP. I could list them all off, 2C anything, 2B, etc. They're all hallucinogenic and psychotropic molecules that are attempting to resemble LSD, MDMA, things of that nature. And Europe cannot keep up with the rate at which these molecules are coming out, because you change one structure or one aspect of the compound and now it's legal again. It really draws a lot of
default,
yeah,
but it is
exact parallel to what we're seeing in the hemp industry now with like HHC, JCH, THCO, THCP, and those are really hard to argue that they aren't true synthetics. And it's like, okay, you make HHC, and that's hexahydrocannabinol, different from tetrahydrocannabinol. It has 2 more hydrogen molecules in it, and so tetra versus hexa, it's numerical, and you literally can just keep adding hydrogen to it, and then it's a legal molecule again. But whether or not that's safe is to be determined. So on that point, I don't want to get off on a subject, but the Mood will never sell synthetics or research chemicals, at least until we are sure that it's an established and safe product. We are only carrying Delta 8 currently. We do carry HHC as I think about it, but that is also because we have transparency. We work with a lot of local suppliers, and they are very forthright about the processes that those compounds go through, and so we can communicate that back to our customers. But unless we know every single step that the molecule is going through, it's never stepping foot in our shop.
right. Nothing against other shops who do sell these research chemicals.
Yeah.
But this is what we choose to do for our customers.
Exactly.
Personally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. I think we covered it all pretty quickly as
Yes,
well.
sir.
Thanks for bearing with us, everybody, and we love you. It's always a pleasure. And once again, smash that like and hit that subscribe button.
We love that.
Big times, big times. We're sitting down with Ben Wallace of Dodi Hemp, the founder, lead engineer, and lab guy. Really excited about that. He actually mentored me a few years ago when I was doing the hemp extraction, and so it's an honor to sit down and get to talk with him. Really look forward to that, and keep an eye on it. Yeah, that's what we got for you today.
Yep. Thanks so much for watching.
Cheah.
Fucking